Hello, hello, beautiful people, tribe members. How are you doing? So last week we were supposed to talk with Dr. Ayobami and we were not able to, but I am super excited that he is here today and ready to talk to us. So if you are a medical doctor, you know somebody who is a medical doctor interested in matching in the US to a residency program, or you are a medical doctor or in medical school and you're interested in practicing as a medical doctor in the US, then let's go ahead and invite our guest in to join us. And we have a lot to talk about today. Hello, hello.
Hey, how you doing, Winnie?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Oh, thank you so
Nice.
much for doing this. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, it's a privilege. It's really a privilege. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am super excited to talk to you today. Like, just super excited. So, I even have like coffee to get me through this conversation because we're going to do plenty talking.
Okay. Let me start by appreciating for this opportunity to talk on your platform. You're really
Absolutely.
doing a wonderful work with helping people out there to maximize their career and their potentials, and it's a good thing.
Thank you.
More grace to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm Ayobami female medical doctor. I finished from University of Illinois in 2016. And I went on to do my house job at University of Illinois. I did NYC, then I worked as a medical officer in Nigeria for some time before coming to the US to start my residency training.
Awesome. Oh, wow. You see me clapping when you said University of Illinois. University of Illinois has a special place in my heart. My dad is a graduate of University of Illinois, and I didn't go there, but I love University of Illinois because of that reason. I actually wanted to go, actually applied and got in to study something. I can't remember, physics or chemistry, before I came to the US.
Okay.
So, yes, I love University of Illinois. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. And I mean, this is match season. I'm sure you have been on Twitter and you have seen this week. Like, this is also like one of the, like, I've known about the match process a little bit, but I want to say this year, I really hyper focused on it to like understand the madness. And oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, even makes it like more exciting to talk to you about it, because how did you do this from Nigeria? And I mean, today you are in Chicago, you know, in your IM residency, which is just super amazing. So let us start from the beginning. When did you fall in love with medicine? Like, when did you decide this is a career for me?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Well, I will stay back from childhood. My dad is like the typical Nigerian dad that is like all his children should be doctors. So like, okay, we are three children in my family, so like, I'm the second. So it was like the three of you be doctors, view the hospital, and all those things. Yeah, so that was where it started out from. Yes, but then as time went by in secondary school, I fell in love with biology, and I was like, okay, I'm doing well. You see, medicine or engineering. When it was time to fill in for JAM, I was like, I think I'll do well with medicine. Yeah, so that was basically it.
You must have
And it's
smashed
been an
it.
enjoyable journey all the way. I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Okay.
So there are challenging times, but then it's been rewarding.
That's really good. So I'm sure like you smashed JAM. Like JAM was no joke for you.
I wish, well, I did pretty well in those days. Yeah, but was not the best. Yeah.
Okay. And so you got into University of Illinois and you studied medicine for what, 6 years?
Yes, 6 years, 2010 to 2016.
Okay.
Yes.
What was that like? What was that experience studying medicine in Nigeria?
Well, the first thing I would say is that Nigeria, at least as at then, and probably now, no more now, as at then, Ilomi and University of Nigeria, yeah, they were the fastest, like their 6 years is 6 years. But I think now that private universities have joined, like Bowen and the like, so the fact that 6 years is 6 years made it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yes. But then over there, it was nice. I think it was God ordained, because I initially went to University of Ocean to start medicine. I didn't get admission to University of Illinois initially, but later when I came out with the third list. But then I didn't want to go to University of Ilorin. My name came out. I was like, I'm Oshun already. Let me stay in Oshun. My parents were like, no, 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 come over. And then I came over to Ilorin.
Yeah.
So passing through there, I think it was God ordained journey because I met great human resources that have been beneficial through medical school. The mentorship then, I was part of an association called CMDA. That's Christian Medical and Dental Association, Nigerian students. It's a supportive community. And then through that venue, during down times when exams come out and you don't pass and you're crying. I remember my first exam in medical school. That was in 20 level. I didn't pass. That was anatomy. It was so depressing. Yeah, but I had people that were there to support me. And then as time went by, I got the hang of the system and I was able to also help people that were coming after me too. So I really enjoyed medical school. It was fun. Yes.
Awesome. And I like how you mentioned that there were times that you struggled and didn't do well. I think that medicine is presented as this prestigious like career that you always have to have all your ducks in a row, like all A students, you know, perfect science students. And I love when I see people who have a real journey and, you know, it's not always been perfect. They have, you know, overcome challenges and walked through failures. And I'm grateful that that is your story because you become a picture that people can actually look up to. So well done. Okay, so my next question is, when did you decide that you want to practice or learn in the United States?
Oh, okay. Before I answer that, let me just go back to what you said earlier. I think, yes, you are right in that a lot of that come into medicine. The typical mentality in Nigeria is that, oh, you are a student or going to medicine, going to engineering, all those things. But we realize that those A students, when they get there, or we A students, when we get there, there's still this challenge of coping with the system. There are some peculiarities with medicine in Nigeria that can make it difficult at first. I've had a lot of friends that experience difficult times, but then with appropriate help, particularly from those that have experienced such and are there to provide guidance, yeah, I think we all made it through. Yes. So about studying medicine or furthering my medical career in the US, I think it was after medical school. Initially, I was like, no, I'm not leaving Nigeria. Where do I want to go to? Why should I leave?
Yeah.
But then doing house job, I realized that, okay, I'm working with my seniors, I'm working with residents, with consultants. I'm like, okay, I see how these guys are living their life. This is not the life I envision for myself. This is not how I see myself practicing in the nearest 10 years, 15 years. So I was like, no way, I'm not going this route at all. So that was when I was like, okay, what can we do differently? And ideas came around. Initially it was more of UK part because like I didn't want the UK because I wanted residency straight. I didn't want to go work as a medical officer in the UK first. So I was like, okay. Then I had this friend or this mentor over there that, okay, I also met him through CMDA. Yes, he finished from the University of Benin. So I realized that, okay, he was on the pathway to the US. And then I asked him some questions. I was like, okay, this thing sounds good. Yeah, I think I would want to go along that path. And I also realized towards the end of my final exam in medical school that I have this thing for studying. I like to read. Although it's not as if it's so fun, but then I still like to read. Yeah. Yes, I was like, okay, I think I would like to take USMLE exams. They have this reputation for being tough. I was like, okay, I think I can ace it. Come on, bring it on. So that was how I went on to the pathway. Yes.
I love it. He said, bring it on. Absolutely. And I mean, we're going to talk about the USMLE in the next question, but like that exam is notorious for flooring international medical graduates. Like, I mean, yes. I feel like, I know you just came to the US, but it will not be long before you know a lot of people who are in limbo because of that exam, like outrightly failing. And so being able to take it and pass it from outside the US is no small feat at all. And we're going to dive into what you did so that the medical students and medical graduate watching can learn from your own experiences. How did you start this process? So you decided, okay, USMLE, bring it on. What was the next thing you did after that?
Okay, I think after that was to get materials to study for the exams.
Okay.
Yeah, to be told, I didn't have a whole idea. I didn't know exactly what it entailed. All I knew in mind was, okay, just pass the exam and you enter the system. That was all I thought. But along the way, I realized there were some other things. But then, so I got materials. I reached out to those that had gone ahead. This mentor of mine, I said, finished from Benin. So he sent some materials to me. So I started studying. I had a friend in Lutz then. She was also in her final year. She linked me up with someone. Yeah, and I sent my hard disk over and I got some materials, a couple of Kaplan videos, and I started watching them. So basically the resources for USMLE, the most basic resource is the first aid. That's like, we call it like the Bible of the exam, like you're just to study it. But the issue is that it's a bit conk and every line there like carries weight. So if you're not familiar with the concept, there's a tendency to kind of like cram and not really understand it. So what I did was to watch the videos, read chapters in the videos or systems. Probably I take, okay, medicine, there are systems. So there's cardiovascular system, there's venal system, respiratory system. So I took each system one by one, watched the videos on it, the Kaplan videos, they were very explanatory, I had my jottings, and after that I will go and study UWorld. So we study first aid. After studying first aid, then I will now go to the question bank. There's a question bank called UWorld that like contains questions with explanations. So it's also like a very important study guide, not just questions, because after studying each question, there are explanations on okay, tell you why option A is right, why option B is correct, or why option B is wrong as it were. So basically it was doing those things that I did for each system and for each subject. That was how I went through it. And then there are also mock exams too. So there are mock exams like they call it NBME, and there's also UWorld self-assessment. So these exams are reputable for estimating your performance for the exam, such that, okay, probably if you have 90 in this exam, okay, the exam itself, main exam, like the pass mark is around, let's say, then it was around 190 thereabout. I think it's around 200 now. So let's say one scores 220 on those mock exams, the NBMEs, there's a likelihood that in the main exam you will score like probably plus or minus 10, probably 210 to 230 or even more, depending. So I did those exams. So as I was studying, like initially I just studied marathon. I started in 2018 March, 20 years after I was job, yes. So I studied marathon until like I took a week off before NYC. That was just my own perspective. That was my own plan then. I went for NYC in October. So I studied straight until October, and I took my first MBME after I came back from camp around December. I had like 190 something. Then I went on to study again, took another MBME in March, then June. I just took them consistently, basically about time, and I saw this improvement. Yes, so that was how I went about studying. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. And so when did you feel ready to take the exam? What were some of the things that you had as pointers to say, okay, I'm ready to do this?
Okay, first thing is that, answering that question straight away to be the mock exams. But like I said, the mock exams were highly predictive of one's performance on the main exam. So when I was coming on the mock exams, that showed that, you're ready to take the main exams. I wanted to score like 260 on the exam or 270. I was having like 240, 250, and I was doing well. About 14 days to my exam, or was it 7 days? I did a mock exam and I had like, was it 260? So I was like, okay, we are good to go.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so that's basically it. But then what you have noticed that was for the step 1 exam. There's also the step 2, there's a step 3. Yes, so that's just basically the approach to each of the steps, basically.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And between the step 1 and step 2 and step 3, when you are an international medical graduate, what's the space or what's the kind of timeline or breakdown? How soon can you take the next step, for example?
The good thing about the exam is that you take the exam at your pace. So as like, for example, in Nigeria, the closest center is Ghana. So there is nothing like, you have to take it exam by this exact day. No. When you're ready, you fix a date and you go for your exam, basically. So when you're comfortable with it, and that makes it interesting, you're not under any particular pressure until you're comfortable. So about taking the exams now, the exams can be taken as early as possible in medical school, but most times people take it after medical schools. One, because we are not aware, or nobody, probably initially we didn't have interest in going abroad then, or probably due to financial constraints, or also due to our demands of medical school. Imagine if you not finish coping with your challenges in medical school, don't come prepare for another exam. Yeah, so, but then you can take them as soon as one is in medical school. As early as that, you can start taking them. But of course, you need the knowledge to do that. So you need to probably at least go as high as 300 level or 400 level to have the needed knowledge to sit for the exams in medical school. But after medical school, you can take them as soon as you want, depending on when you are ready. There's no particular interval per se. I think initially it was like you write the exams in any sequence, at least the step 1 and the step 2. But now I had that it has to be step 1 first and then step 2. Yes, but then once you take the step 1, the result is out, you can go on and take the step 2. But for the step 3, you have to be certified. You need to also take an exam, an English proficiency exam. That's the OET. The OET was initially not there. Initially, it was step 1, step 2, clinical knowledge, CK, step 2, clinical skills, CS. But when the COVID pandemic, step 2 CS had to be in the US. But when the COVID pandemic, they restructured things and then made it such that nobody have to come to the US to take the step 2 CS. The alternative is now OET, occupational English test. So that way, by taking the step 1 exam, the step 2 CK exam, and the OET, one can apply for what's word now, for certification with ECFMG. Yes. But to be certified, one will need to have finished medical school in Nigeria to be certified. Yes. Then after that, can take the step 3 exam. And step 3 exam is only in the US, basically.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it. Wow, you are giving us like hot information. Somebody just said they're jotting things down. I agree, 100%. Please bring out pen, biro, paper, because he is downloading this. Okay. Now, as someone who has been in the US for a while, the one thing I know about these big body exams is that they are expensive. So tell us the damage of this. Like, how much does it cost you to at least get through step 1 OET and step 2 CK? What is the cost of paying for these exams?
Okay, about the exam, it's financially demanding. That's the simple truth. Like, it's way financially demanding. In fact, like I said, when I started the exam, I had no idea it was this financially demanding. Just like, okay, let's go and write the exams, and that was it. But then I realized that with every step, you have to pay for this. Like, I had to do like a couple of mock exams, and they were about, I think, 20K each. So then we did like 5 or 6 mock exams for step 1. That was about 100K plus, aside paying for question bank online, aside paying for the exams, flight to Ghana and all that. And that was just for step 1, then step 2 and step 2 basically. And then also paying for the certification of the exam. So it's really financially demanding. Basically, aside paying for let me give an estimate. Paying for the exam is about, let's say, it's about $900, but due to exchange rate, it's more expensive it's more expensive converting it to Naira now. So the exam will be each exam is about, let's say, 400,000 thereabouts in Naira. That's step 1, step 2. Then taking the OET exams, then certification is another $900 thereabouts. Then what again? Then applying for interviews for programs, that's also quite expensive too. I think I can't remember the exact amount, but about $30, about $15 to $30 per program. It varies on different concepts or different criteria. Yes. So I think but then the good thing about the system is that you don't pay all this once. So you can first pay for this, then pay for the exams. However, if you're working, although it's difficult to work and prepare for the exam at the same time, but if you're working, you can take the exam, you can pay for the exam, then for the next payment, you have like a couple of months, let's say 6 months to work and then pay for the next exam. So the good thing is that the payment is not just once. If you are working, you can fund yourself. But other advice, either you are sponsored by family or friends, yes, more like family, or if you are working in Nigeria, most working as a medical officer, to earn large amount of money as a medical officer and pay for the exams will be demanding. And you have to work long hours, so that will not be healthy. It will be more compatible if you're in a residency program. The residency programs are also quite demanding too. So maybe a little bit juggling them together. But the other pathway is to go to the UK first. So while working in the UK, you're earning good money. From there, you can pay for the exams, and that will be more comfortable. Yes, so those are ways to go about working around the financial demands of it.
That has to be huge, because then it also makes it that this process, like if you don't have the financial support for it from the get-go, it's either going to take you longer or you're just not going to be able to do it. So that's definitely a huge factor.
Yes, you're right.
Okay. All right. And for you, what was your strategy? Did you work? Did you have family support? How were you able to navigate it?
Okay, for me, it was basically family support. Okay, though I saved a little doing house job. Yeah, I saved doing house job. I saved, but then basically it was family support. I could not went on my own. Basically, it was family support. Yes.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you took step 1, you passed. You take the OET.
Yes, I took OET.
You took OET, you passed that too, and then you took step 2 CK. Awesome, and you passed it. So now you are ready to go through the process of getting certified by ECMG, which is
ECFMG.
ECFMG, yes, which is the certification body that pretty much states in the US. I think they just
that you are qualified to practice as a physician in the US. Yes,
in the US when you're an international medical graduate. What was that process like? What did you need? What documents did you need to gather? How did you go through it?
I would say that was the easiest part, actually. Passing the exams was the major step. And what you have noticed that step 1 has changed now from initially it was a scoring system, like you had to score high and all to be more competitive, but now it's the pass or fail system.
I was so happy.
So
I was jubilating when I saw that.
Well, it's a two-edged sword in the sense that it can be helpful, not so helpful. Let me explain further. Like for instance, okay, as an IMG, that is an international medical graduate, the odds are stacked against us, basically. So you have to look for avenues to show that, you are competitive, you're worth it. That's how you show that, okay, so that the veterinary students here would consider the person. And one way to do that is to ace the step 1 exams. I remember I had 257 or 258 on step 1. I had friends that had 250, 260 a friend of mine had 260 on the exam. So that was like a point where you get to show that, okay, really, I'm worth it. I'm better than, well, not necessarily better, but at least I have good stuff in me. So now taking that off would mean that you have to find another way to show that you're really competitive. So that's one angle to it. But the other angle is that, okay, I also have friends, very fantastic and awesome friends that didn't do well on the exams. Not because they don't know their stuff, but because of situations that they were not aware, they were not informed about how to go about preparing, they underestimated the exam, or things just happened and they scored poorly on the exams, and that limited their ability to go on to other stages and to apply for residency or to be considered. So the pass or fail system, that kind of makes it easier for someone like that to easily scale through without so much stress. It has to kind of like a two-way thing, depending on how you see it. But then I think now more emphasis will be placed on the step 2 CK, acing the step 2 CK. Although it's quite easy, or it's literally easier to ace the step 2 CK, because step 2 CK deals with more of clinical knowledge skills, in the sense that step 1 is more basic medicine stuff that we read in 20 levels, anatomy, biochemistry that most graduates will have forgotten about. Yes. So step 2 CK is easier to, in a way, pass because clinical things are what we do at work, so it's easier to relate to it. Yes. So about the ECFMG process, basically, once you pass the 2 exams, step 1, step 2 CK, and you pass your OET, you apply for the ECFMG certification, and then you will need the MDCN, that's the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, to send a certificate of good standing to ECFMG via email. You have to pay for that, contact MDCN, and they will help out with that. So with that, ECFMG will do the necessary, and within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you will get your certificate. Yes, that's that's basically it. For certification.
It's a fast process. That's good. I was expecting you to say something along the lines of like a few months. So it's not.
No, not at all.
Awesome.
Pretty easy. Yes.
Awesome. Do you have to pay for that, I imagine?
Yes, you have to pay for that. That's about $900 if I'm right, or 1,000 thereabouts. Yeah. Yeah. Well, about that being expensive, okay, I think the thing is this. Initially, like I said, OET replaced step 2 CS. Step 2 CS is quite expensive. You come to the US, you pay for accommodation, then you go for the exam, it's also expensive. So I think in replacing that exam, ECFMG came up with the OET, which is way more cheaper. And then, so probably in a way to, I don't know, whatever it is to do what they want to do, they made this more expensive. So that we are still paying in a way huge amount. But then, it's still easier than going the other route of step 2 CS.
Got it. Okay. So I'm kind of pacing the timeline process just so that if somebody is listening and they don't know how to go about this at all, they can at least have a general overview. So we've gone through all the way to step 2 CK, and you have been certified by ECFMG. And so at this point, you are ready to enter the match process.
So, yes.
Okay. Now, what time of the year or what month of the year does the match process start?
Application starts during September. Officially, it opens around, let's say, August. you can start submitting applications by then.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's in September that the residency programs will be able to assess the applications. Usually, particularly, they release dates each year. I think it was September 22nd or something this past year. So starts application officially started. The program starts seeing your application by September. Could have submitted earlier before, probably like a month earlier if you want to. Most people submit around that early September to probably October thereabout, depending on individual circumstances. But basically, it kicks off in September. By 1 week after it's open for programs to start viewing applications, then interviews start rolling in. So to September, October, November, December, January, and early February, interviews roll in and you do your interviews. Now it's now virtual. In those days, that's to be come to the US, travel to the hospital, you do your interviews, and then you go back to your country or however it works. But now it's way easier. So interviews end around early February. By first week of March, you rank your programs. So let's say you get interviewed at 10 programs, or let's say 5 programs. You rank them in order of preference. That okay, probably I want this hospital first, this one second. Your most preferred first. In order of preference, you rank them basically, and then you submit your list. They call it rank order list. Then by second week of March, yeah, it's announced where you match. There's an algorithms that pair residency programs with applicants and all that. Is pretty detailed. But then basically you just match somewhere or you get a place according to certain factors. If, for instance, I want program A or residency program A, and they also want me, that is, they rank me high on their list and I rank them high, or they are first on my list, then most likely I will get into the program. But if I want them, I interview there, and they don't rank me high on their list to match, then that means I won't get into the place. So basically, by second week of March, I think second Monday usually, but second week of March, basically, yeah, you know that you've matched. Then by Friday of that week, you know where you matched. For instance, this past Monday, they announced that okay, people have matched. Between Monday and Friday, between Monday and Thursday, there was some open spaces that okay, some people can still reapply and all those things. It's called SOAP. Well, let's not go into those details now. Yeah, then by Friday, you know where exactly you matched. So that's how it works.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Before the match process started, you had to do a certain amount of homework to identify the programs that you will be including in this, right? So walk us through your process as an international medical graduate trying to enter this system and compete with US seniors that are also graduating here. Like, how did you choose the places that you applied to in the match?
Okay. First, I would like to reiterate that though exams are important, in fact, they are necessary, they are basic necessities, but they're not the only things that are considered in matching successfully. So, like I said initially, I was pretty short-sighted. I just like, oh, it was just the exam and that was it, but that's not true. A couple of other things that, so from the word go, if you want to really embark on this pathway, keep those things in mind and work on them along the way. The first is your exams, of course, passing your exams, pass as well as you can. If needed, take extra time to prepare for your exams. That would really help. And the next is having US clinical experience. This is not entirely necessary, but it makes one more competitive. US clinical experience in the sense that is, you find a way of coming to the US, probably through a B1 visiting visa or something, and get to rotate through hospitals and have 1 month, 2 months, whatever it is, and it will boost your CV, basically. Then after that will be, I think those are the 2 basic things. Then on that thing that's very important, no, number 3, it's one of the most important, yes, is having a good network. That is, having people that can put in a word for you. A mentor of mine once said that after God in the US, next person are human beings. Leg, as we use the word in Nigeria, applies here, really. I just want to put in a good word for you that, hey, I know this person is really awesome. He does this and this well. Please have a look at his application. That will make a lot of difference in your chances. So from the word go, networking in medical school, reach out to those seniors ahead of you that have gone ahead and in the US or in the process, follow them up. If you're out of medical schools, friends and seniors ahead, reach out to them. And through this platform too, for them that have gone ahead, basically, reach out to them and build your network, basically. Yes, so those 3 things I think are important. Then Now, about the programs to apply to, they call them residency programs, not necessarily hospitals. Or then hospitals here, but then common terminology is residency programs. Because in the program, as an IMG, there are hospitals that don't really consider that, they're not IMG friendly, that's the word. Usually consider AMGs, that is American medical graduate, those that finished from university medical schools in America. But there are hospitals that are IMG friendlies. So when it's time to apply, there are some, I can't remember the name of the application. I think one is Freda, one is, I can't remember the other one, but then basically when you're applying, there's some applications that can help to delineate, okay, or tell you about that this hospital is IMG friendly or not. But an hospital being IMG friendly doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best hospitals. In fact, most top institutions are not IMG friendly. So, but then the hospitals that are IMG friendly, they're not bad. They are really good hospitals. An hospital is IMG friendly and is an awesome program. My point is just that the hospitals that are notorious for not being IMG friendly, it's a little bit difficult going to those hospitals. Probably they have criteria that will make it more difficult. Probably finishing from a top medical school in the US and things like that. Or having US clinical experience, probably 1 year, 3 years, and all those things that IMGs will not easily have. Yes, then what again? So the application, there's a lot of applications, FREIDA, FREIDA, and another application. I can't remember the name, but then basically they will align your profile with those that have in the extensive program, probably in terms of scores, in terms of year of graduation. So there's a term called year of graduation. The way that applies is that most hospitals prefer recent medical graduates. In the US, the way it works is that you leave medical school, you move into residency straight away. But in other countries, for instance, Nigeria, you've done medical school, you've done house job, you've done NYC, you've done this, you've done that, when I go and apply. So they prefer those that are within 5 years of medical school. The more years you are away from medical school, that's a negative impact. Although there are still ways to go around that. It's not all or none. But then it's just that it's better if you can apply for the match as soon as you finish all the exams and you apply for the match within 5 years. But then there are ways to go about that. For instance, if you're in a residency program, that is a structured residency program, like residency in Nigeria, it can help because you're in a training program. They believe that if you left medical school, your clinical proficiency will reduce. So if you're in a residency training program, that means that you are still working clinically, so they can consider you. And then, or if you leave Nigeria and go probably to Saudi Arabia, to the UK, you're also working there, that would also help. That would not really count against you. But it's usually better if you apply within 5 years of medical school. But otherwise, if you are beyond 5 years, there's still way to go around that, like I said. And then we are going to research work that can also help cover for the gaps and push out publications. Yeah, so those are things to consider when approaching the application season. And also for the hospitals, yes, networking, like I said, if you have hospitals where you know someone that can put in a word for you, you apply there. And I think, yeah, that's basically it. The typical IMG applies to a lot of programs like 100 or so, just to increase one's chances. The typical AMG applies to probably 10, 40, because they really know where they are going to and they know that they are competitive and all that. Yeah, so I think those are the things to consider when selecting a hospital. Then also, there's also a CV. You have to put in your CV. So you have to talk about your work experience in your CV and all those things. And the more, about that, there's a way you write the CV. There's a template that is given to you. You have to really, what's the word now? You have to blow your trumpets. There's a way to organize yourself. Don't just say I'm a medical doctor in, let's say, LTH hospital. You have to say, oh, I'm a physician in this hospital. I do XYZ. I take care of this, and this. I perform following procedures and all. I organize clinical meetings. Like, break those things down and make it elaborate. So don't just make it so little. So you have to really blow your trumpet. You don't have to, not that you will lie, but then really be specific. Don't just say you're a physician. Exactly what you've done. And then also there's a part for medical school. Things you've done in medical school, for instance, clinical presentations in medical school, doing ward rounds, ground rounds. I remember I had to go back and I was asking I remember I was in a team, we had presentations, I wrote all those things down. Those things really matter in the long run. Then there's also something called sorry, I'm just saying them. There's also something called letter of It's a reference letter, yes. Basically, you have to get at least you need at least 3 letters or at most 4 letters, depending on your specialty. So you have to get someone to write a letter for you. Usually, a consultant will be preferable in a typical Nigerian setting, or a professor in a typical Nigerian setting. But there's also the part of getting someone in the US to write for you, a consultant in the US or something to write for you. Reason being that, of course, a consultant in the US, they will be able to fine tune the letter to a way that programs in the US will understand better, basically. But for instance, when I was applying, I had a US letter of experience. I had 3 letters of, I had 4 letters. I had 3 that were from my Nigeria professors and consultants that I'd worked with. I had one from a mentor in the US. But in as much as location of those consultants matter in a way, most important thing is the content. Not just saying that, like a typical thing in Nigeria is that, let's see, Ayobami is hardworking, is this and this and this and this and that as well. No, that's not how it works. You have to say that, I worked with Ayobami for 3 years. During this time, I got to know that he's really proficient, evidenced by he's coming to work promptly, attending to patients and seeing them on time. His clinical vision is on point, suggested ideas that were relevant to the diagnosis and contributed to the treatment of the patient, and also followed up. So basically saying points like that, like being more descriptive in the letter of recommendation. So usually the idea is that you give templates to them. There are templates available online. You can just Google letter of recommendation, USMLE or residency process or something. You can see examples. So basically, you give the Nigerian authors those letters that they can use as samples, or if possible, even write it out for them, a template that they can just modify. That way they can really write things that will be really good, basically. So letter of recommendation can attest to your clinical proficiency, that you attend patients well, you can diagnose diseases and provide accurate treatment consistent with standard management procedures. Or it can attest to your knowledge, that probably you were a best graduating student, or you're top of your class, things like that. Can attest to your work ethics, let's say, or you are punctual, you have interpersonal skills and all those things, or your research experience. However it is, can just tailor it. But basically, let it just capture everything as much as possible. Yes, and let it be descriptive. That's how the letter of recommendation works. Then aside that, another thing, I said something about network. Another way network can help is to have people that's on pathway with you. For instance, in my house job, I had 3 people that were like, okay, we're going to the US. We were in a group discussion together. We studied together, went through the process together, basically, and we marched together to God's glory. Yeah, so having that support system, those are people that you've known or that you've met before. They are networks. They are platforms for networking. For instance, there's a robust platform called Kanji, Kaing. I'm a part of the network, and it's been a really crucial network. There are tons of Nigerians, even Africans, basically Ghanaians on the platform that we've come together. I'm able to mentor each other that, you are in step 1, I'm in stage of step 2, me have matched, me and my fellow, I'm attending, and we just mentor downwards, basically providing help for each other. That way you can rise up and also provide the mentorship down too. So that network really helps, and it has been a blessing basically to everyone that has been part of the platform. Yes, I think I've said a lot of things. Yeah, but then I think what I have to say about the application, itself. Yes.
Okay, you dropped a lot of knowledge bombs, so I like that. I really do. All right, so we've talked about how you got through starting the match. You've also given us like a lot of information about what you can do to boost your application profile and make you a competitive candidate. You also told us about like programs that don't accept IMG and programs that do accept IMG, and how to kind of go about that. So before we leave that part and get to the part of you getting interviews, you matched at a top residency program in the US, which is honestly amazing, because even AMGs are not always able to get into top residency programs, and you did that as an IMG. So tell us some of the things that you specifically did to help you land a spot at Cook County? Like, what were your, like, almost give us the secrets of your application that made you such a competitive candidate?
Well, thank you for the question. I would say that's an interesting one. Honestly, my simple answer would be it's good. Like, honestly, every day, even yesterday, I still had to analyze things and look back. I was like, getting here today, it was God all the way. But my own said I could not have done it. And I'm being genuine, not just trying to be humble, as in I'm really serious. I didn't think I could come this far. It was just an idea, and then gradually things turned out well. I would say what helped in that my own end I could control was having a good score. And that I worked on it a lot. I remember I spent probably about 16 months preparing for step one. Yes. And my colleagues then too prepared for that long too, that we matched together too. Yeah. Obviously having a good score. But like now step one is no more, it's not pass or fail, so that doesn't really count. Well, it might still count to pass. I score high there, I can't really say about that. But at least scoring high in step 2 CK, that would help. The second thing I would say is the gift of men, that is networking. I was blessed, or rather I am blessed with fantastic, awesome people. One way or the other, I get to meet people that I didn't plan to meet, or that people that would just help me and just provide this advice. Like a mentor of mine, like he paid for some of my mock exams during step one, then I remember. And people would just show up and then they would just counsel me and not show up literally, but then we'll just find a way of meeting and all those things. During my application season, I had people that went to my application, that provided advice, provided insight on how to do certain things, and helped fine-tune my application. And eventually, I would say, getting here, it was not by my own power. I didn't have US clinical experience, like I said earlier, although for my hospital, it's not automatically necessary to have US clinical experience. But then, basically, I think it was more of someone putting in the word for me that helped to make the difference with matching in my hospital here. Yeah, so I think that's it for matching here.
Okay, awesome. All right, how many programs did you apply to in total?
Okay, I applied to about 150 programs, or I think 145 thereabouts. Okay, first I wanted, my initial choice was OBGYN, that's obstetrics and gynecology. Second was IM. Although along the way, I got swayed into putting IM first. But still, I wanted OBGYN. So I just like, okay, let me still apply. So I applied to a couple of IM OBGYN programs. Basically, it's more difficult it's more challenging to enter a surgical program in the US than internal medicine or than pediatrics or family medicine. It's more challenging. And that's because they prefer them to have hands-on clinical experience. That is, come to the US, do clinical procedures and all those things, which I did not have. So that didn't really go in my favor in getting an OBGYN interview. But for internal medicine, I applied to about, I think 110 internal medicine programs, internal medicine programs, and I got 6 interviews, just 6. Yeah, you can see how the difference. Yeah, basically, that's how it is. I think, so I think that's it.
Wow, 110 IM programs.
And that's money, definitely. That's a whole lot of money. I planned 110 programs. Yes.
It's a lot of money. 110 programs, and how many OB-GYN programs?
I applied to about 39 or so OB-GYN programs. Wow. Yeah.
Did you get any OB-GYN interview?
Nah, not at all.
So the were from the 110
internal medicine programs.
Wow. Did you?
And I think, go on.
Oh, I was going to ask if you considered family medicine, because I know that a lot of IMGs also, apply to a lot of family medicine programs because of the reason you said about like in the US clinical experience being a requirement for a lot of these like specialty programs.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yes, basically family medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics, and probably radiology are specialties that don't really require, are not really big, that you can still easily enter. Not let me use what is it, but you can still make it through without US clinical experience, basically, yes. But I did consider family medicine, but that was a different reason. it was because of the concept that going to family medicine, and to family medicine, I can now go back into OBGYN, that is being family medicine physician with special interest in OBGYN. That was why I considered it. But then I was like, I didn't want to go through all those stress. I actually later weighed that, okay, probably OBGYN might not be my thing. Let me just go for internal medicine. Yeah, so that was it.
Wow.
And then let me put this in too. Out of those 6 interviews, I think 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think 3 were due to people putting in a word for me. Yes, so that's just to say that network really matters. Despite my good scores, supposedly it wasn't still enough. Obviously, it was not enough from 110 to 6 interviews.
Yeah.
But my point is that beyond good scores, you still do things to boost your CV. That's just basically it. But for the typical Nigerian, it might be really difficult getting US clinical experience. First, due to the issues of visa. That's the whole issue. And Winnie understands. Yeah. But then also the issue of finances too. Yes, clinical experience can be really expensive, paying for them. But also through your network can also get this US clinical experience without really paying for them. Yes, basically. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you say you had people put in a word for you, could you be more descriptive? Were they people who worked in those hospitals, or people who were just in the US who made phone calls for you or sent emails? Who were the people who put in a good word for you?
I think the more people who worked in the hospital. For instance, I had 2 seniors from medical school. When I was in 300 level, they were in 6. And when I was leaving 3, they were in medical school. I got them in the US before I started my step 1 and all those things. So later on along the pathway, I reached out to them that, hey, I'm this to remember me, blah, 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 and all those things. And I started to follow them up. I like, okay, I've taken my step 1, I've passed. I've taken my step 2. Later, like, okay, I've taken my step 2, I've passed, I'm applying, I need your advice, all those things. Later, I've applied to your program, please, I need your help and all with getting a slot for interviews. And those 2 helped with getting interviews at their program. One just left the program, the other one was still there. Yes. So that's what I mean by network.
Directors on your behalf, or sent an email?
Something like that. The exact way they did it, I can't really say. But I know that at least they were the contacts I had in the program that helped to follow up and basically help out.
Okay. Was that part of your selection process, picking those programs that you knew people in?
That was part of it. Although I didn't know a lot of people like that. I had who that I knew that were in programs that I knew someone in was just like probably 10. And I applied for about 110 programs. So there were a lot of other hospitals that I knew nobody there, and I just applied based on I felt I met the criteria. I was like, oh, first I remember applying to John Hopkins University medicine program. I remember reading doing this book by what's his name, Ben Carson. I went to John. I'm like, okay, let me apply there. When you don't consider me, at least my record that at least to apply to John Hopkins. So I just applied there. Yeah. So yeah. But basically the idea is that so as to conserve resources, try and ensure you apply to programs that meet their criteria. Programs will say what they want. Okay, might say scores above 200, scores above 250. They might say being certified or not being certified. They might say having 3 years of US clinical experience, or whether 3 months of US clinical rotations, or 1 month, or they don't mind if you don't have it. So reading about programs will help you know, okay, if I fit to this program or not, and that can help you conserve resources. For instance, if I applied to probably just 20 programs, well, I don't know, that might have still worked out. Yeah, basically.
Wow. And I do hear IMGs apply to, like, I mean, is the max 200? What is the max you can apply to?
The max, I'm not sure there's a max because of course they will gladly take your money. But probably there might be maximum, I'm not sure. But I think those far it's been like the more money you have to spend to apply, the more you can apply. Okay. Yeah, that's what I know of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because on Twitter,
and then
go ahead.
So what's going on?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go on, please.
On Twitter, I've seen people like apply to 200 programs, and in my mind I'm just like, and then they don't get any interviews, and
it's crazy.
I for the life of me, I'm just trying to see, like, what?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, there is just the more you apply, yeah, the more your chances basically, but still I see the part of narrowing it down, although that's not too LD for IMGs. For instance, if you're a US graduate, you can apply to just 10 programs, get 9 interviews, and just go to one of them. But for a typical IMGs, about you have to apply wide. Yeah, basically. Yes. And then I wanted to chip something in. So we created a timeline of doing US step 1, USMLE step 1, step 2, then being certified, then applying for the residency, for the match, for the application. But it doesn't really have to, you don't have to be certified before you apply. But you have to be certified by the time it's time to match. That is by September, when you're submitting your applications, you don't have to have been certified then. For instance, when I was submitting my application last year, or not last year, 2 years ago, it was October. That was when the COVID pandemic. It was not September, it was October that the match, the application season was open to programs to view applications. I think it was October 21st. I took my step 2 CK because of the pandemic. Nobody could go out. So international travel opened up around August 2020. I took my step 2 CK like October 2 or 4. My results came out on October 21st, if I'm right, and that was the application opened. So I completed my application the October 21st. Then I took my OET around November. Results came out late December. So I was not certified until January. But by then I'd gotten like 2, 3, 4 interviews already. So my point is that you don't have to wait until you are certified fully to apply. You can apply while awaiting certification. But of course, if you're not done step 1 at all, you don't want to apply, it's not even possible to apply. My point is that if you're in the process of getting, you probably see what's the name is OET or your step 2 CK, you can still apply in September and ensure that before December you've done your OET and all, and ensure that you're certified as soon as possible. But of course, there's a downside to that, because the theory is that some programs prefer those that are certified from the word go. So it might still not help, but at the same time, we still have programs that would consider you, rather than waiting till the following year to now apply again. Yeah, let's just keep that in. Yes.
There is a question for you, or 2 questions. Does every IMG have to go through the match process to get into residency programs? Are there residency programs that don't use the match?
That's a great question. And the answer is yes, you're right. Not every IMG has to go to the match. Not everybody. People that have gone ahead. Okay, let me explain how it works. There are programs called pre-match programs. In the sense that although it's still within the same season, you apply to them. Basically, you apply to them, they interview you. If they want you, or if they like you and they want to be part of their program, they communicate to you via email that, okay, like you to join our program, accept or decline. So if you accept, you go with them, and that's it. If you decline, they move to someone else and consider someone else. So there are programs like that called pre-match programs. That you don't have to go to the match and wait till March. You get interview in probably November, and then they say they want you, want them, and you sign the contracts, and that's it. You've gotten in, basically. Yeah. So.
What about?
But then typically everybody goes through. Like, at least everybody applies to program at the application season. If you now get interviews from pre-match programs and you really want them, that's fine. You go ahead with them and you opt out of the match. Yeah, basically.
Okay. So even for the pre-match, you have to apply into the ERA system first, and then the pre-match programs will contact you, and then you could kind of opt out of the rest of the program process.
Yes, basically. But still, that's also dicey in a way, because there's these speculations that, okay, pre-match programs are substandard, but it's not really true. There are pre-match programs that are really awesome. But basically, there's this tension of or this suspense of not knowing what will happen in the match, not sure that you will match or not. And then you're like, should I take this or not take this? How they say the bird in hand is worth 10 in the bush, and all those things. You're not sure. But then usually for people that have few interviews, probably just have 1 or 2, and one is a pre-match and it's offering you, it might be good to take it. But if you have like 20 interviews, you're like, well, I'm a star applicant, I don't want to. Let me go ahead to the match.
I got somebody that had 20 interviews that went unmatched. So I don't know that that's a guarantee.
What did you say?
Somebody had 20 interviews and went unmatched. I don't know that that's it.
How many interviews?
20.
Wow, that's insane.
Because it's a system, right? And so, like, at the end of the day, like where you put the program and where they put you is taken into account. Like there was this video that I
Yes.
watched on YouTube that attempted to explain the process, and it's insane because at the end of the day, if a program has 5 spots, right, and they put you as number 6 in terms of priority,
Mhm.
you could be very unfortunate that they will get their first 5, right?
Yes, you're right.
and
You're
and
right.
and so then, like, it just means that, like, even if you put them as number 1, they just got the people that they wanted before the algorithm got to you. And there are many people who
Yes.
can have that experience 20 times.
Well, you're right, but then still it's quite unlikely because the idea is this. For instance, take for instance, I got 6 interviews. Of those 6, 3 were solicited. 3 were just came naturally. So my point is that for 20 programs to send you invites, that shows that you have something. I mean, no, people don't have interviews at all. That's it, basically. So 20 programs show that, I think 20 programs are saying that, okay, you might fit to our program and they interviewed you and you go on match. Honestly, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Like, it's really crazy. And, well, I don't know what to say about that because it's a sorry case, actually. It's really painful. Yeah, but then really the chances are unlikely for that to happen. All things being equal. All things being equal. Yes.
I do agree with you. And I think it's those situations are more likely in the highly specialized programs, like
Oh, okay. Yes, yes, yes.
plastic surgery or
Aha,
technology,
yes.
or those ones that's like the whole country is 50 spots to begin with.
And then again, speaking of sports too, that's also something to consider when you're applying for programs. For instance, for me, I was like, okay, programs that had more sports are more likely that you can make it on their list. But a program that has 7 sports, it's less likely that I get on the list. Yeah, typically. Yeah, so you can also consider that in choosing the programs to apply to.
I
Yes.
agree. I honestly agree. Okay, so you got 6 interviews. What was that like? Interview 1 to interview 6. Like just tell us about that experience.
Well, okay, the first was that it was quite shocking for me when interviews were not coming because I felt like, oh, I'm a star applicant, I have all these scores and all those. This was an eye opener. I realized that, okay, it's not all about scores. You have to have other things, basically, like we said earlier. So the more you have them, the better, better for you, basically. Then about the interviews too, that's another process entirely. In fact, that can be said that USMLE has 4 exams, 4 steps. The 4th step is interview process because you have to prepare, you have to rehearse and all those things. Like, it's so crazy. Like, it's like all or none. You have to just give your best to the interviews. There are templates of questions that you can go through. Tell us about yourself. Why do you want this program? Why the US? They can pitch scenarios that was the most, I don't know, the most crazy situation you've been in. Tell us about this time when a senior of yours did something wrong. How did you approach the situation? Crazy questions can come up and you have to pay for all those sort of questions. So basically, my first interview was a pre-match, and that was where someone put in a word for me. And it was my first experience, and it was a bit. You didn't go as I wanted it to go. I wanted it to go, but then through the interview experience, and again, they didn't call me, of course. They called me, I most likely would have gone there because it was pre-match. Like, oh, then I just had just 2 interviews. So I would be like, just 2. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Yeah, but then luckily and thankfully they didn't call me. Yeah, but from that interview, I got to realize, okay, areas that are my weak spot that they tackled in the interview. And I had to go and work on it. Okay, but I'm asked this question subsequently, how will I approach it? So for interviews, basically, it's your approach to answering the questions about what you say and how you say it. The idea is to communicate passion that you really want the program and also trying to sell yourself. There are various what not. You have to prepare for the interview basically, but the idea is that when you answer a question, you have to either way try and just most idea try and paint yourself as being the most stable candidate for the position. So if you are asked, let's say if you are asked why what now? Why the US? You might start something about Nigeria, you trained in Nigeria, what you saw and this, and then I came to and you realized that okay, in the US we have an opportunity to do more and help more people. And then their program, you realize that their programs, they provide service to underserved populations. And realize that this is more like Nigeria, where a lot of people can afford healthcare. And you really feel that their program be a place where you can express your passion and you feel that you really belong to their program. So that way you try and just look it back that, okay, I'm really pressing for this, for your position in answering your questions. They are, like I said earlier, there is this network called Kanji that they provide guidance through the whole stage of everything from beginning to the end, even post-residency, fellowship matching and all. It doesn't end, basically. Yeah. So, but when the community of people will provide help. I remember I met a friend randomly on Kanji. She just sent me a message that, okay, that can we be asked together? And she was really a blessing. We started, especially she was in the US then. So I think she was more acquainted with the system. So she had some tips that she shared with me. She was more passionate in an expression. I had to learn from her how to communicate and how to reorganize my words and my answers to questions. And it was really helpful, basically. So eventually interviews came, and then, yeah, it ended well. Basically. Yeah, two different experience for interviews. I remember a friend of mine, she was like, she and the program director, like this, that is the head of the program director, they talked about, I thought she was based in Lagos then. So then program director asked her where she is. She says she's in Lagos. The PD said that, okay, I've been to Lagos before. She asked her, okay, what do you like to do? She said she likes to cook. She was like, okay, tell me about it. Apparently the program director liked soup or something, and said that she likes to cook or she's learning how to cook, you see, afang soup or something. And that's was like, oh, fantastic. That okay, that when you come to my program, you teach me how to cook afang or something. And the interview ended, and later on, the director sent her an email that, okay, go about afang. I learned it's a really interesting soup or tasty soup or something. And that's how they bonded, and eventually she landed in the program. And so interviews can go in a lot of ways, actually. But then, as you're interviewing them, they're interviewing you too, basically. Yeah, so.
Interesting. We did have a question while you were talking. The person asked if you had any kind of professional or paid interview program help you prep for your interview.
Well, professional or paid? I would say professional, I would say yes. Paid, I would say no.
Okay.
So the network called Kanji provides help through different layers of the whole process. So the founder of Kanji, that's Dr. Wu, as he's fondly called, is an orthopedic surgeon in the US, in Boston in particular. So basically, he helped me to go through my personal statements, and he helped me to fine-tune it. And I also had another senior, but another mentor that is in pediatrics in the city, in the program in New York. He went through my application to and fine-tune it. So basically, having those people that I had, they provided professional guidance, basically. So professional help, yes. And also myself too, this application season, I help people fine-tune their personal statements and letter recommendations too, basically, yeah. So professional help, yes, you need that professional help. Definitely you need that. Paid, well, some of my friends, I know a friend that did paid, yeah. So you can do paid if you want. Either way, the plan is just that your personal statement or letter recommendation comes out well. Yes, that's the most important thing.
Awesome. Wow. All right. So you had the 6 virtual interviews. First of all, this question just came to my mind. How did you feel when you got that first email for an interview?
I think I still remember I was in a bank that day. So I had applied, nothing was coming. Then the day before, I told her my senior about the interview that I wanted. She's Dolapo by name. So that about that, I tried to have focus. Like, you couldn't give on anything, that things are changing our program, blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, thank you. Like, she will speak to another colleague of ours that's in another program to also help out. So I was in the bank, I just checked my phone, I just saw it. Morehouse, interview alert. What? I was so happy. It was like, wow, yes, we are in there. Let's go. But like, sent a message on Instagram. I was like, thank you so much. It has come. It just came in. I appreciate it. Like, okay, now the interview is here. I need your assistance. We pay for the interview and all those things. It was like, I should book my interview for later in the year. Though later on in the season, like January, then it was around October. Then I should book it for later in the year, like January. And I did so. I think it was helpful because I had more time to prepare for the interview. But basically, that was the experience. And later on, they started coming, trickling in one by one. Yeah. So It was an amazing
Got it.
experience.
Got
Yes.
it. Got it. Okay. If this does not break any code, do you mind sharing the programs that you interviewed at? If that's okay.
Oh, sure. There's no code broken. Yeah. So the first one I got was but I was in random pattern. So one is St. Peter's University, Rutgers in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
One is Morehouse School of Medicine, Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, Cook County Hospital, Johnny Stroger Hospital of Cook County, Chicago. Then Eastern Philadelphia. Then there's another Saint something. I've said St. Peter's. There is another Saint. I can't remember the other one's name. Then I got St. Barnabas. Yes, St. Barnabas, New York.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got another one in New Jersey. I can't remember the name. It's Saint something. I can't remember the name, but those are the programs basically.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
So now, when you interviewed, I have heard that sometimes students try to play a game in the ranking of the list, right?
Okay.
Where it is like, you know, a program that really wants you, but you don't necessarily want to go there, but you're almost sure they're going to put you high on their list. And so to kind of make sure that you match, you also put them high on your list, even though you don't want to go there, right? So that's one. Or there is this almost like trying to send an email after the interview to tell the program that they are number one on your list, you know, kind of to hint them that they could, you know, also make you high on their list or something like that. What tips can you give about how to actually either prepare for the ranking or how you actually rank the program?
Okay, I would say, let me start with the last one about communicating with the programs, showing your interest in the programs. That's really important. Just let them know that, okay, you really want to be in their program, usually through emails. You let them know that, okay, even before you get the interviews, for instance, when I got certified in January, even before that, when I applied to programs, I emailed programs, I was like, okay, I've applied to your program. I am Olafemi Ayobami. I wrote a little bit about myself. I had this in my exams. I'm applying. I'm a 2016 graduate. I'm applying to your program because of XYZ. Try and be specific. And in fact, I made the email specific. I wrote the program director's name and I sent it to virtually all my programs, basically. So that's a way of communicating, showing interest to the program. Yes. Then also, when I was certified, I also told my programs that, okay, hello, this is me again. I'm not certified. Yeah, and I really want your program because of XYZ. And I look forward to being in your program, to interview at your program, all those things. After interviews too, I sent emails, thank you mails that, okay, I'm glad I interviewed at your program and I look forward to being there and all those things. I enjoyed XYZ about your program and I believe it to be a good place for me because of this and this and this. I look forward to being in your program come June, July, the summer basically of the year. So basically communication program is important, but there are no guarantees. You can't really see how that will help. For instance, after sending that email then that I was certified, I think 2 interviews came in afterwards. So there's really no guarantee that it might work or it might not work. But the idea is that try and communicate with the programs, not too frequently, not that you now send 10 emails to the same program, but at least keep them updated about things that are happening in your program, or rather in your with your progress, basically. Then, so that's why communication is important. So try and communicate with your program because that's how you show interest in them. Although they might not reply you, but that doesn't mean that they didn't read your email or something. But someone once told me that someone once said or shared that she emailed someone earlier in the season, and later on she now got an interview. She had no idea that was the person that she emailed earlier that helped her with securing the interview. So they might not reply, but don't be discouraged. Still convey your interest. But don't send generic emails. Don't just send things that won't. I'm sure that this person is not really interested. Be as specific as possible and as concise as possible, not too lengthy emails. People are busy, might not be able to read your emails, basically. Yes. Then about ranking programs, I would say the rank is made to favor applicants. So rank based on your interest. You want University of New York first, just an example. Probably your family is there and this and this and this. But University of Alabama says, oh, they want you to and all those things. Rank University of New York first. Rank Alabama second. That's how it works. If University of New York, the way you want, they want you, you can't say that whether they want you or they don't want you. But if they want you and you want them and it works out, that's fine. You're your top choice. If it doesn't want, University of Alabama said they want you, definitely you match there if they really want you. So that's like a backup plan. So I would advise that, or the general advice is that go with your preference, not what they promise. But there's no guarantee. Like someone says that, oh, the truth is that I remember a friend of mine that she said that she got an email. No, a friend, yeah, he said he got an email from a program about that the interview was a good one, this and this and this. But then another friend I interviewed that got the same email too. So basically, it's still where you are sending emails to 100 programs. Programs are sending emails to 100 applicants. So there is no guarantee that they will really rank you high. So it's better to rank based on your preference than what your than program's preference. That would be my advice about that. Yeah.
I was reading a story on Twitter just to kind of buttress your point. And the person, I mean, I think they ended up getting something through Soup, but they went unmatched, and she was expressing, of course, the disappointment and anger. And she said she actually got handwritten cards or notes from the program after she interviewed. And so it was so confusing to her that she didn't match, right? And just like you said, they probably mailed it out to everybody that they interviewed, right? And so, I've been in the US long enough to know that some people know, like some programs know how to woo you. Like the personal touch is unparalleled. But please, if you're watching this, know that they do it for everybody. It's not, it wasn't just you that got the email or the card, so that you can actually make a decision based on what works for you. But
yeah, very true. The same way you want the best, they also want the best too. Yeah, so it's simply a game. Both parties are playing the game, basically.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell us about the day you got that email that you matched.
Well, that was an amazing one. It is still, it will be, it's a dream come true actually. It's the stakes where when there's like, it's just like, just one thing and it will change everything about your life to make a whole difference in the trajectory and course of your life, basically, of one's life. Yes, so for me, it did so. Matching number one, then matching in my program, those are really awesome things. Yes. So for the match, when I was notified that match, I was at work that day. Yeah, and I had this patient that was a bit cranky and all those things. I was just calm. I just let my match result come out. Match result came out. This was fine. I could not shout because I didn't. Part of my work don't know what I was doing, and I was getting low key basically. So I just did my work that day, and I packed my load and I left work. Was it 5 p.m. then? Yeah, and then come on, we start shouting and then making calls. I've matched, daddy have matched, mommy have matched, sister have matched, mother have matched, mentors have matched, basically. And then it's a community effort. It's not by my strength or something. It's the whole village that made it possible. So I notified every single body that see what the Lord has done. Marvelous in our eyes. And then I called someone and it was like, the next best thing that can happen is for you to match at Cook County. And I was like, I just felt that chances were low. It was not likely that would be possible. And lo and behold, I matched I was like, wow. Initially, sincerely, I felt out of place. I felt, okay, usually the way it works is that there's this picture that shows everybody that matched there. So there were a lot of, my program is a big program. We have about, total year 1, year 2, year 3, we are about 120 thereabouts. Wow. Yes, but in my class we were about 40 thereabouts. Yes, so all the pictures were there, people from all over the world, from India and every country, basically every continent in the world. I was like, hey, why do you really belong here? I was like, I'm not sure. Yeah, so it was really amazing. It was, and basically I was really happy that my support system helped me all the way. I couldn't have done it by myself, but then God came through for me, basically. Yes.
Wow. I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine. I remember when we spoke on the phone last year and you said you matched that cookout. I remember thinking, what? like happy words, because it was like IMGs that would do anything to get that spot at Cook County. So
I know,
that,
right? Yeah, I know,
that
right?
is super
Yeah,
amazing. And I
thank
mean,
you.
it is right at the medical district in Chicago. So you also have all this network of, academic hospitals, and like, it's amazing.
Yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. I must say that I appreciate your knowledge depth about the whole process. It's a good one.
I,
If I obviously you really followed the match season this year, you really followed
I
it.
try. I try.
Yeah. And then about matching generally, I do advise people that, ultimately the aim of the USMLE pathway is to match. And I think there are a couple of things, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that are key. Like we said, discuss, US clinical experience, year of graduation, network. Yes. Research can also help, but research is relative for it to really make a difference. You must have really churned out a couple of research, probably like have 5, 10 publications and all those things. But just having one research publication would not make a difference per se. So for me, I think research is like, if you want to really probably have a deficit you want to compensate for, you can really go into research and try and publish papers. You have like 20 publications. Of course, that will boost your CV. Basically, that's how it works. But then the whole match stuff is like, the whole goal is to boost yourself as much as possible. So having a deficit is not the end of the whole game. Doesn't mean it's not possible. But looking for ways to boost your deficits. For instance, people who have low scores, they go and do US clinical experience, and it gives them an edge. Do you understand? They go and do research, do this and do that, or they go and network and find people that can really speak for them, and network and all those things. So basically, looking for ways to, if possible, as much as possible, don't have deficits. But then, if there are deficits, try and cover for them. It's not the end of the game. You may have to change career paths. For instance, let's say you want surgery, you may have to probably go to another pathway or set for another specialty. But really, the way things work in the US is that you will still find that specialty very interesting. Remember, someone told me, and he was counseling me about OBGYN and internal medicine. It was like, I'm someone that really loves, if I really love procedure, said that internal medicine, I can still do procedures. I can go into interventional cardiology and really get to work on things, and I will still get paid heavily. So that don't be too focused or don't be too fixated on a particular specialty. It might be good to really start from somewhere and enter the system, and from there keep going. And also about specialties that are demanding, the truth is that I would say anything is possible. Your dreams are valid. That's the truth. I have a friend, she marched into emergency medicine from Nigeria. Like, she has not been to the US before, and that's so crazy. Like, it's so crazy. Like when we were talking initially, I knew our aspirations for emergency medicine. I was like, okay, is this really possible? Is this possible? You didn't finish from US medical school. You have no US clinical experience. But then she worked on herself. She packaged herself well. She networked heavily, and she matched in a really beautiful and awesome training program in emergency medicine. So my point is that, and even those people that, graduation matters, yes, but there are people that I remember someone shared on the Kanji platform that she is, I think, 17 years post medical school, and she's still matched. So my point is that impossible things can happen, although the truth is that it's not easy. That's the truth. The process, the waiting process, you have to work hard, you have to do things that will make you more competitive. That's a lot of hard work. But then still, don't be deterred. It's very much easy. Yes.
Wow. You dropped so many gems there. And to kind of add to what you said, I mean, I spoke to somebody recently whose husband, I think her husband is also in his 40s. And it's not like age means anything, but I'm just kind of trying to think about, like, they have a family. I think they have 4 children. They have, like, a lot going on with them. And he has been out of school for a very long time. He matched as an IMG into pediatrics.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And
Beautiful.
I mean, like, I'm just imagining, like, Hey, I've gone to plenty school in my life. Like taking those exams when you have like a family responsibilities, you still have to work. You have all
Mhm.
these things stacked up against you, and it is still impossible. But what you have said that I feel like I need to put on my forehead is networking.
Oh no, no, that makes a lot of difference. It
Yeah,
makes a lot of
yeah.
difference. Yes, it does.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
it does.
So the next phase in this is the visa. You've matched at Cook County. What visa options are available to you when you, as an IMG, are going to the US for residency?
Okay, speaking of visas, I think actually visas can also be okay. The typical AMG needs a visa, but for those that have a green card or the blue passport, they need no visa. That's also an advantage actually. Some programs prefer people like that. There are programs that cannot sponsor visas, so that can also be an edge for someone who has a blue passport or something. But typically, the visa options that are available for IMGs are either the H visa, the H1, H1B,
Mhm.
or the J1 visa. Yes. Typically, it's assumed that the H1 is better, although there are still different perspectives to that. I'll try and explain. But to get the H1, you must have done the step 3 exams, as that's when you are matching, that's better, but at match or by the deadline of the program, usually match basically, so that they can sponsor the H1 visa. Benefits of H1 is that it's an immigrant visa, so it's a step closer to getting your green card and being a citizen, basically.
Mhm.
And then another benefit is that there's something called moonlight.
Hmm.
That is, as a senior intern, as a senior resident, probably in year 2, year 3, you can work in another hospital or in your own hospital and you get paid extra. That's another benefit for that. But the downside is that if you're going with your spouse can work on H visa. I think the spouse visa is called, I think, H4. The spouse can work on H4 visa. So that means that you're really the only one working, except the spouse has her own visa or something, or she doesn't need a visa to work. Yes. For the J1 visa, J1 is a non-immigrant visa. So you are not as close to being a citizen as the H visa. So the idea of the H1 is that J visa is that you're going on an exchange program. Basically, you sign a contract, your country signs a contract that, okay, this doctor will be going to your country, the US, to go and train and acquire specialized knowledge to come back and help his country, Nigeria. So the idea is that you're going to the US to come back and help Nigeria, basically. But then now, of course, most likely, in fact, actually, everybody does not come back. So, but then wait now, you now have to waive the visa. So what you have to do is that there are a couple of ways to waive it, but a common way is that you will have to work in an underserved area population for about 2 or 3 years. That way, you can now waive the caveat on the visa, and you can now go on to being on the H pathway and getting your green card and all that. But then the advantage of J visa, where the advantage lies, is that for competitive special subspecialties, for instance, like cardiology, conventional cardiology, and other competitive, probably like gastroenterology, those subspecialties, they are more, they sponsor those with J visas or those who have a green card. So over that, there are more options for those who are on a J visa or those who have a green card or are citizens or something. Those with H visa have limited options when it comes to those subspecialty. So usually, for people going into cardiology and they're on H visa, they can still try and go into cardiology and match. Some actually do match. I mean, fellowship now. Some actually get in, but what a lot of people do is that they're on the J visa, and that's easier for them. They have a lot of programs to apply to. H has limited programs, or another thing H can do is that they would not go into fellowship straight. They will go and work on getting their green card, then go back into applying. So that's like the downside. And the other thing with J1 is that your spouse can work with a J1. Yeah, so that's like the basic difference between it. Yeah, but then basically, visa is a visa. You leave Nigeria, you enter the US, basically.
Then this question, aside strong research publications, year of graduation, what other factors can help boost your matching during the season? And I know you've talked about a lot on this. Is there anything else you want to add?
I think a major thing will be your clinical. Well, the first thing will be network. That will be the first thing, definitely. That will make a lot of difference. But then networking will mean you have to put yourself out there. You have to get in touch with people that are over that in the US, that in residency training, that in fellows or something. Or through your work, you have probably working with a professor, a consultant, and he has a friend in the US or something that can put in the word for you, things like that. One thing that can help is having clinical experience in the US. And the peculiarity about that is that you have to be in the US to do that. Although now there is virtual US clinical experience too. You can do the virtual clinical rotations. That will make a difference too. But I'm not sure it's as strong as the in-person clinical rotation. So either you come in through the B1 visa or any form of visa and then you do it straight away, or you go through a master's route. So doing your master's, you are doing publications, you are publishing papers, and you're also volunteering or working at a hospital, and you're also networking. So now the idea of doing a US clinical experience is the benefit is there are three benefits. One is that it gets to be on your CV. I've actually had patient contact in the US. Two is that you get to meet people and network and show that, hey, I'm proficient, I have good work ethic, I would like you to put a word for me at this hospital, this and this and this. And then the third benefit, according to the third benefit of US clinical experience, was it? I can't remember. I'll come back to it when it comes out. It skipped my mind. So basically, doing US clinical experience would give you that leverage of interacting with people that are here in the US. And then the third thing will be getting letters of recommendation. So people that you work with can put in words for you in a letter of recommendation, and that will also help your application process too. So US clinical experience helps. Just that in the US, for Nigerians, so basically IMGs is kind of like a big deal with living in Nigeria, getting visa to live in Nigeria, and also paying for because they're expensive, paying for the rotations are kind of like expensive. But through your network too, you can also get those rotations for free. The other option would be to leave Nigeria and go to the UK or to Saudi Arabia. International work experience counts as an advantage. It will make a difference. And the way you can sell that is, number one, you've worked in a Western country before, in a first world country before. Number two is that you've worked with different populations. In the US, at least there are certain states like Chicago that people are from all over the world. So you sell that, okay, see, I work with people from different backgrounds. That increases my proficiency, my personal relationship. Therefore, I will be good at working at your hospital. I understand that your hospital, your staff are from all over the world, your patient population are diverse. That can also sell. Do you understand? Yeah, so those are the ways that you can, that living in Nigeria can help. Another option is entry residency program in Nigeria. Being an MO, a medical officer, would not help. Basically, it would not help. Except probably just for a short time, like probably between after NYC, before you leave Nigeria or something. But being a medical officer chronically, let me use that word, would not help in entering the US because you're in a structured training program and that will count against you. But if you're in a residency program, you're in a structured training program, that feel that, okay, this person has been working in a hospital under supervision of consultants. Basically, person has been getting equipped clinically and they will consider you. So that would, but again, you can't, and again, your consultant will also put in a word for you, depending on your relationship with them, through a letter of recommendation that would also be of help. And the other option is to, like I said earlier, come to a master's in the US. Yeah. So those are the ways you can help boost your CV. Yes, or your chance, or one's chances of getting in.
Getting in. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. All right.
Yep.
My next question. So Cook County sponsored your visa, correct? Okay. How did that work?
No, Cook County, like I said, there are two forms of visa. For the H visa, the H1 visa is the hospitals that sponsors it. That sponsors it. For the J visa, it is ECFMG that sponsors it.
Tell us more.
Yeah. So basically, they as like it's like a partnership. You have to get a letter of authorization from your country that okay, like I said earlier, that this person needs to acquire this skill. Has you get the letter, you send it to ECFMG, and they do everything, and you get still basically submit the application documents basically. But once you've matched, that's like it all depends on the program. There are programs that sponsor J1, that sponsor H1 basically. But basically J1 is sponsored by ECFMG, then H1 is by the hospital itself.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell us about like what did you need to give to ECFMG to apply or to sponsor your G1?
Basically that part is actually kind of like a simple process too. Like the same way it is with getting certified. Once you've matched into a hospital that can sponsor a J1 that is in relationship with ECFMG, is basically easy. For instance, I submitted things like my transcripts, like there's a letter that you need from the federal government. They call it, that's the name, I can't remember the name of the letter, but they get it from the Ministry of Health stating that you want to go and learn something. There's a format that you write it, that you're a physician, you have matched, you want to get more knowledge about your specialty or internal medicine with the goal of improving the country. But then it's just formality basically. Once you can match, basically you will get your ECFM will sponsor your visa basically. Just submit needed application, needed documents like transcripts, your contract letter. You get a letter from someone, a top, not top, but like a top, what's the word now? A top staff or civil servant, yes, in Nigeria. It's particularly beyond level 13 or something that will just pen that person knows you and can vouch for your capabilities or that for your personality as an individual. But really there is no big deal. Once you've matched, it's like you don't, that's like an easy part. Basically there's no big deal about that.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you find these people? So for you, did you already know the people that were going to, for example, the civil servants that was going to write a recommendation letter, and you have to pay for this letter? Like, what's the process of getting this in Nigeria?
No, like it's something like not having an uncle that is working in the civil, like a federal staff or a state government staff. Like probably an uncle that is a doctor, that is a nurse, or that is a lecturer or something. Like a family friend or your friend or something. Even a mentor can do that. Okay. So that's really not like it's something that is quite easy to do. Like if that's what you have to do, that's like the easiest of things to do. So that's no big deal. It's not a really big letter. It's not just you can be just basic things like state your name, state the professor this and this and this. I have known Ayobami for this number of years. I know he's going to the US for this and this and this. I can vouch for his ability, this and this and this. And I would like you to ensure that you give him the visa, you support him as ever you can. Thank you, and that's all. But then now about where to submit those stuffs now. Okay, I understand where the question is coming from. About the way to go about this process actually. What made it easier for me is because it was a group process, not just only me. People have done it before, they told us how to do it. And then for instance, in getting SON, there's document you need from Nigeria is called SON, Statement of Need, basically. Stating that Nigeria needs you, needs the knowledge you want to go and gather there. Yes, basically. So now to get that document, you need to submit your transcript, that letter of attestation from a senior civil servant, and some other things that are really minute. Then get across to someone in Abuja, at Ministry of Health or something. But basically, because I was in a network, they gave us someone's number that we could contact. So I would just call them, each person called him, and we sent our documents in by email. And he got a letter for us, and he scanned it to us, and we scanned it to ECFMG, and that was how it went. So that was what made it easier. If I didn't know anybody or I didn't have any idea, it might be strange to me. But the truth is that most likely someone that would match into residency from Nigeria would have a friend that has a friend or someone that's matched. So someone just explain to you basically about it. But still, it's no big deal. It's not something that can see whether or not you get a visa. It's really a straightforward process, basically. Yeah.
Okay. So ECFMG applies to USCIS or the US Embassy on your behalf, or do you have to also do something on your end for the embassy? Yes,
basically it's more like the student visa, the F1 visa. So such that the ECFMG files an application, I think with service SEVIS. Yeah, basically they give you a document. It's called DS 2019 through your program. They give you documents and basically take that document to the embassy. Of course, you apply for a visa in a general way. You fill the application for a visa at the embassy and all those things. Yeah. And go with the document to the embassy and then you show them. It's like, there's a particular document for student visa. I think is a I-94. So no, I-90, not I-94. There's another document that will show that you're coming from, that your visa is being sponsored, basically. Yes, so that, yeah, so
Okay.
you get the document through ECFM, from ECFMG through your program. It will be couriered to you, yes.
Okay.
And you go with that to the embassy.
Okay. And you still have to pay the MRV fee to go
Yes.
to the, of course. Okay. So you've gathered all of this and then you went to the embassy for your interview. What was that process? Like, what did they ask you?
Well, okay, typically, the typical embassy interview with a J visa or a H1B is usually a smooth one because basically your hospital has done everything, CMG has done everything. So it's just a smooth one. You just go in. In fact, some of my colleagues, they didn't really ask them any much questions. Still for some student visa, you just give you your visa, or they just stamp your stuff and then you come back and get your passport with your visa stamped on it, basically. But I had some peculiarities. So what happened was that prior in 2020, then in the age of step 2 CS, before OET came, and before pandemic came, of course, then so then in 2020, I had done step 1 in 2019, October. I was planning for my step 2 CK in Ghana. I was planning for my step 2 CS later on in the year. And then visa. So I went for a visa interview, B1, B2. I got the B1, B2, but it was unsuccessful. So I did that twice, it was unsuccessful. Then COVID came and everybody stayed indoors. And then COVID opened and miraculously, no need for step 2 CS again. And I could march from Nigeria, and that was a blessing. Yes. But then, so my interview this time around, so for some reasons, I can't really say why, but my interview was funny in the sense that I was asked questions that, okay, aside the typical question for medical people on the page, typical embassy interviews to ask you, okay, who are you, why are you going to the US, and all that typical things, or where do you work and all those things. But I was asked, in fact, after the basic interview, I was asked to come to another inner chamber. I met some other people there, and I was asked about my house job. I was asked the rotation I went for, I said medicine, surgery, and pediatrics. And I was asked if I've heard about urology. I said yes. And I was asked if I know what BPH is, benign prostatic hyperplasia. I said yes. And I was asked to talk about it. Anybody that is a medical person on this page would be like, okay, what's happening? That's how I felt too. Like, okay, like, okay, what's happening exactly? Like, with all my, I've come on, I passed step 1, step 2, like, I'm here, and you feel like I won't know BPH. But basically, it went that way. And basically, I think that why it went that way, and that was just for me individually as a person, because of my own, I think my background, we've been there twice for a B1, B2, I guess so. And also probably, I think I get this thing a lot. I used to get that now at work. The belief is that I have this baby face. So probably they feel that I'm too young to be a doctor, or I'm impersonating someone, and they're like, okay, let's test this guy and we know that he's a doctor. That was the idea of the way the interview went, basically. And like I said, that was just peculiar to me. Yeah. Typically, the interview for J1 or H visa is a smooth one. What can make it complicated is if one has abused a visa privilege in the past. At least you've been to the US, you've overstayed your visa and stuff like that, and that's getting things messy for you. Otherwise, all things being equal, it should be just walking, breathe in, and breathe out. Yeah, simple.
Wow. Okay, but that wasn't the end of your story. I mean, that was not where it ended. I wish BPH was the end of it for you. There were other things that happened afterwards. So tell us about after that interview that was pretty weird. The next few months.
Okay, well. About that, honestly, I still feel it's peculiar to me. Peculiar to me, like I said, it's typical or the typical Nigerian person or the typical IMG that matched should not have those issues. Yes. Okay. So for me, basically, yeah. So after the old BPH stuff, the guy asked me, okay, why Chicago? And I was like, okay, I applied to a couple of programs, over 100 and all those things, and I got 6 interviews and I ranked them and I matched there and all those. So I was like, okay, cool, that's fine. Okay. That hope I know that it's really cold. I said yes. It was like, okay, I should get ready. Yeah, so and that was it. So and it was like I should go back to the counter. I went back there and the woman was like, okay, yeah, you've gotten your passport, or rather that she got my passport from me and was like, okay, then I'll get my visa within 7 to 10 working days. Yes, and that was it. Interview was a success. And I went home. And then day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 9, there was no response from the embassy. And later on, I got a response. I now emailed them. My colleagues have been getting responses from the embassy that, okay, come and pick up your visa, your passport stamped visa, passport stamp or visa stamped passport. Yes. Yeah. But then I didn't get that. Later, I emailed the embassy and they were like, hey, the application has been placed on administrative processing. And administrative processing is a term that can mean a lot of things. A lot of things. It's really non-specific. And filling this form is called the DS 5535. I can't remember the exact number, the exact arrangement. I think it's 5535 basically. Fill this form, and the form was really basic information: where you've lived before, where you've worked, if you've left the country, your email address, your social media handles, and all those things. I filled the form and I sent it to them, and administrative processing went on, and it went on, and it went on, and it went on. Basically, my visa was administrative processing for about 7 months. Yeah, and that was huge. It was really huge. Yeah, it was really I don't know, it was a peculiar time and season for me, basically. Yeah, but then a lot of things transpired. Contacting the embassy, contacting ECFMG, contacting my program. Embassy released this guy's pass visa now. Yeah, but then they were like, they didn't really say, they were like, I emailed them every 2 weeks. Hey, my friend's waiting for me. I need to go to the US. I'm a physician. I need to provide service to population of citizens population of people at Chicago, to Illinois. There's COVID pandemic, this and this. They need my assistance and all those things. But then they were just saying that it's under processing. They'll get back across to me as soon as possible when it's ready and all those things. So it was really a prolonged processing. Without the way processing, I really don't know. But eventually, after about 7 months, yeah, they released it, to God's glory. But still, I would say that that's an atypical experience. It's not something that typical. In fact, most of my mentors were like, yes, that's possible. I could have gone to administrative processing, but it's usually short, probably 3 days, probably 3 weeks, probably 6 weeks, or let's say 2 months, but then 7 months. Nah, not like it's really, really atypical. So I would say that's really typical, and that's not. I really don't feel anybody else should experience that.
Yeah.
And I don't see anybody else experiences that, because it's crazy. Trust me, it is.
I mean,
yes.
That has to be a whole. Somebody said village people.
You can say that again.
If this is like the recipe of trial of your faith, I don't know what that is, because I don't know about the administrative processing, right? And I know people who have gone through it, but I think the highest that I have seen before we spoke was 3 weeks. Like it completely blew my mind why you would be under administrative processing for 7 months.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was. I was this close to losing my residency position at my hospital. My hospital, then there was this surge of COVID then, and basically my hospital was like, hey, we need you here on ground and all those things. They were calling on people from other rotations to come and do my work. And they were like, yeah, we really need you on ground. But embassy was like, no, we are not giving you. Yeah, so I was this close to losing the opportunity, but I thank God that things turned out well. Yeah, it was really a crazy time, basically. Yeah, it was.
It really happened at the nick of time, because I think we spoke in December, somewhere around Christmas time.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think that was okay. So I think December 12th, to be precise, I got an email from my program. Yes, just stating what I said earlier, that hey, you need to be here on ground. If you are not here by January, we would have to we can't hold on to your spot anymore, basically.
Yeah.
So at that time, I was like, oh, this is the end. So that time I reached out to everybody I could reach out to, like everybody I could think of. I sent that mail, like and I called everybody I called. I sent WhatsApp to like what I could WhatsApp everybody I knew that could really help make a difference. Yeah, so it was during that time that I got linked up with you. Yes. And I was like, oh, Winnie, here I am. You were like, oh, you really don't know what else we could do. I told you what measures I've taken and all. You're like, really don't know what else could be done at this stage. Like, it's just so crazy. Like, everybody I told about it was like, this is really crazy. This is so unexpected. Like, what else do you need? Is it that he's not a doctor? He's not a doctor, will not have gotten the the job in the first place. That if you need something, call this institution, call this person, call that person, and get sorted out within some days. Or why 7 months? Yeah, so it was really crazy.
It was crazy. I mean, I don't know how you stayed sane, but to kind of put this in perspective, what was the date in January that you were going to lose your spot, and when did the embassy get back to you? Just so that people can know how mad this was.
Okay. The notice from my hospital was that if I wasn't in the US by January 16th, 1/6, I would lose my spot. January 13th, I got my passport with my visa. That same day, I left Nigeria in the night. 14th, I was down in Chicago. Yeah, and it's all glory to God. I remember when I got to the flight, I was like, okay, please don't let me get to US and you will now send me back. Because I was so scared until I left the airport and I went with my mentor to come and pick me. I was like, okay, am I really in the US? Or they can still, there's another checkpoint in front waiting for me. So I was like, okay, who did I offend? Like, seriously. Yeah, but then it was really that close. Basically, 2 days to the deadline. Yeah.
Because
God
I
came
remember
through for
when we
me.
spoke, like I couldn't stop thinking about you. And so like I would just be looking at how the date was like coming close. And I personally don't like being pressed on questions if I'm going through a tough time. Like I prefer to be the one to reach out with updates. So I tend to treat people like that too. It's like you don't want somebody to be reminding you every day of your problem. They're asking you what happened today, how are things going. So I was just like, God. But when I got your message that you were in Chicago, I cannot describe how I felt, because I was like, this had to be like God literally saying, pass me that file. like because
Yeah. Honestly, I don't really giving up. I was like, well, I was like, no, I don't really giving up. I was like, okay, I couldn't thinking about it was not helping. No, come on, I've been thinking about it since I went for the interview in May, 25th of May, like every single day up until then. Yeah, it was like, well, this is how it has to be. Yeah, but then out of nowhere, I got the call. Not the way the call went, I was at work. So I started my residency in Nigeria in October just to keep busy. I was like, okay, I have to keep myself busy. I have to earn some money basically and move on rather than just staying at home doing PP. Yeah, so while at work that day, I just had this call. It started with 01, all those landline. I was like, okay, who is it? I just picked. It was like, is this Ayobami? We are calling from US Embassy. I was like, what? I was like, okay, yes, it's Ayobami, this and this. I just said all those things. Yeah, do you work at Cook County Hospital? I said, yes. So they were like, okay, your visa has been, the unpaid process has been completed. I was like, okay, I'm ready to approve your visa. I was like, what? That was the best next thing after matching. Yeah.
wow.
So thank God it came through. Thank God it came through.
Yeah. I,
Yeah, and thank God for the support all around, because it was, trust me, it was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy.
like serious, I'm trying to figure out how you don't go on like antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication. Like I don't know how you like just get through the day without being medicated, because what the
Yeah,
residency program is supposed to start in the summer anyway. You're here, you made it, and we're just thankful
yeah.
to God for you. So far,
Thank God.
how are things going as an internal medicine resident at Cook County in Chicago? How are you
Hmm.
doing? How are you liking it or not liking it? How do you feel so far?
Well, it's been an interesting experience. The practice is pretty different from that in Nigeria or typical third world countries. You have access to, at the snap of a finger, you can do your MRI, you can do your CT scan, and there's nothing like, hey, there's no money, so let's go and call this person, call that person, call that person. Basically, there is insurance for those that are insured and all those things. And basically those things that we get to read in books, oh, for this diagnosis you do this, you do this, you do this, like being here for the past how many months now, a couple of months, I've seen cases that I've only read about.
Hmm.
Like, it's not like, oh, okay, this is what it really means, oh, okay, this is what it means, oh, this is this, and then it comes to life, basically, of comes to life basically. And probably in Nigeria, probably they are, probably those cases are rare, or probably we're able to diagnose them. But then I really can't say. But then I feel that the practice is way better, and it gives people, or yeah, it gives people more life expectancy. It provides situations to provide solutions to their needs, their medical needs. Yeah, and well, I believe Nigeria will get there by God's grace. Probably not waiting on the government, but to the public, to the private sector. I believe we'll get there. But then medicine in the US, yeah, it's awesome. I must say it's awesome. But basically, residency anyway, you still have the patient load to cope with.
Yeah.
You still have to ensure that you see your patient. You still have time. Your sleep is reduced. You have to study all those things. But then you're studying, things are easier for you. No, not nothing like all these things in Nigeria. Yeah, you are nurse doing this and all those things and all those things is way easier here to do certain things. Your work is, there's still work to do, but then the work is made easier for you.
Mhm.
Yes, basically. Yeah,
Awesome.
it's been amazing. It's a dream come true.
Wow.
And I'm grateful to God for the privilege.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You have a question. Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Winnie. It's a privilege actually talking with you. Yeah, thank you for your help during the tough time. It was really great talking with you then too. It was really helpful. It was like at the end of it all, and I'm like, what else do you want to do? Yeah, but thanks for your support, for being there. I'm grateful. Thanks for this beautiful platform, for giving back to the Nigerian community, for having people believe that their dreams are valid and they can achieve them, providing advice, providing resources to help people attain their potential, be the best they can be. Yeah, shout out to everyone out there. Yes, and then to everybody out there on the US pathway, UK pathway, Canadian pathway, whatever pathway you are on. Yeah, it might be quite demanding, quite challenging, but please don't give up. It's really possible. You need the knowledge. With more information, it's more of a global village now. With more information, you know how best to navigate the pathway, and reach out to your network, create network, meet people, be bold, probably through LinkedIn or something, reach out to people. And if people don't respond, not necessarily because they don't want to respond, maybe they are just
Mm.
busy, can give them some time and send them a reminder again or something. Yeah, but basically, build that network is important. And when you get there to the other side, please endeavor to give back to those at home too.
Mm-hmm.
Please, I think the way of paying back forward,
Mm-hmm.
the help will be received.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you so much, Winnie, for this platform. I appreciate the privilege.
Absolutely. It is so much.
Thank you more. Thank you more. I'm honored. Thank you. All right. Bye bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Much love.
Absolutely.